Some lives are shaped long before a single choice is ever offered. Some hearts are taught what they are forbidden to want before they ever learn what they deserve. And some destinies begin not with love or glory, but with a quiet sentence spoken by others that echoes for a lifetime. Naelli's destiny was sealed the day the elders declared she could never be married, not because she lacked beauty or strength, but because she had been born during a season of death, when sickness swept through the Apache camp and stole many lives. Terrified by their grief, the tribe tied their suffering to her existence, as if a newborn child could carry the weight of tragedy. From that day on, she was marked not by what she did, but by what others feared she represented. Admired from a distance, never chosen, needed but never claimed. She stood at the edges of ceremonies with a smile she wore like armor. Growing into a woman of quiet dignity, she learned to hunt, to ride, to heal wounds of flesh and cloth alike. She became the one people trusted with pain, but never with their sons' futures. And though every wedding drum reminded her of what was forbidden, she told herself that usefulness was its own kind of belonging. Until the day violence returned to the land, while gathering herbs beyond the ridges, rival riders attacked near the trade routes. Hooves thundered, shots cracked, dust swallowed the sky. She turned to run, but pain struck first, and the earth rushed up to meet her. When the echoes faded, she lay half-buried in sand and blood, suspended between breath and darkness, unaware that a lone cowboy had dismounted nearby, a man shaped by losses he never spoke of, a man who saw her fall and did not ride past. He knelt beside her, pressed cloth to her wound, poured water past her lips, built shelter from branches and his own coat. When Naelli opened her eyes, she did not see judgment. She saw concern, and something shifted. He did not look at her as cursed or dangerous, but as human, wounded, worth saving. He stayed through fevered nights and fragile mornings. He fed her when she could swallow, cooled her skin when heat overtook her, and never once asked who she was or where she belonged. Trust grew without permission, slowly, naturally. When she could stand again, he lifted her onto his horse and returned her to the border of the land that had shaped her, not as a savior seeking gratitude, but as a man doing what he believed was right. The tribe's surprise was not relief, but disbelief. Survival did not fit the fate they had given her. The elders repeated their law. No man would ever be allowed to marry her. Survival did not change destiny. As she lowered her eyes, preparing once more to accept a future chosen without her voice, dust stirred beyond the circle. The cowboy stepped forward. He did not bow his head, and when he spoke there was no anger, only certainty. If no one among them would marry her, he would. Not in defiance, but because he chose her. Shock moved through the gathering, and inside Naelli, something long sealed broke open. A fragile hope she had never been allowed to touch. The chief finally spoke, cold and measured. If she left with this outsider, she would no longer belong. She would not return. She would not be mourned. For a long moment the world seemed to wait. Then Naelli lifted her eyes, stepped forward, and placed her hand in the cowboy's. With that single act, the life she had been assigned loosened its grip, and the life she chose took its first breath. They rode into a future with no guarantees, except what they would build. Their days were shaped not by fantasy, but by effort, hunger, work, learning. Love did not arrive as a promise, but as a rhythm found in small things, tending wounds, waiting when one was afraid, choosing patience when old fears whispered. As seasons passed, he learned how to stay. She learned that misfortune did not follow her steps, that hardship met all people equally. Still, when drought tightened around her tribe, compassion rose in her stronger than resentment. She told her husband she needed to return, not for acceptance, but to help. He rode beside her without question. They were met with silence, not warmth. In that silence, Naelli worked, shared what they had, showed new paths, new ways to endure. Slowly, eyes that once avoided her met hers without fear. No apologies were spoken, but space was made. And when the chief finally acknowledged her without warning, she felt a closure that did not require forgiveness. The law that once defined her as forbidden lost its power, not through argument but irrelevance. They rode away again, not as exiles, but as people at peace. Their life unfolded not as legend, but as steady perseverance. Storms survived, quiet joys earned, and sometimes at night, when the fire burned low, Naelli remembered the girl who once believed love was not meant for her. She would look at the man beside her and understand that fate does not speak first through laws or fear, but through the choices made when fear is loudest. He would remember the man he had been before he stopped in the dust beside a wounded stranger, and know that some moments do not announce themselves. They simply ask whether one will ride past. Together, they carried a story that did not need to be told to be true, a story that lived in the quiet certainty that even the longest injustice can be undone when someone is brave enough to choose differently, and in that choosing they both found not just love, but a home no law could ever take.